Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast, a production from Empowering Pumps and Equipment as the voice of the pump and related equipment industry. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 79 of the Empowering Industry Podcast. This is coming out November 1st. Yes, November. I'm your host, Charlie Matthews, and I'm joined by my co-host, Bethany Womack.
Hey everyone, I think it's officially fall in Texas. We go through a couple of fake falls where it feels cold and then goes back to hot, but I'm here from Houston in my flannel, just willing the cold weather to stay.
Yes.
But I'm really excited to be here with you, Charlie, and to be back with our listeners. You and I took a week off and we just published a bonus episode last week because we were at WEFTech. And so it's always nice to be back and have my normal conversation with you every week. And for those of you that are just joining us, what we do here on the podcast is we cover some social media updates, we preview the news from Empowering Pumps and Equipment, and then we connect you with a industry influencer, and one of my favorites is here this week. But while you're here, do us a favor, leave a rating and review so that other people can find the show as well. Okay, Charlie, fill me in on your WEFTech, empowering women, all the fun things you've been doing.
Oh my goodness. What a week we have had. I mean, really what a month we've had. But
yes,
that week was a whirlwind. I have to give a couple shout outs with talking about this. First, my mom rode with me on the trip. So we drove from Alabama to Chicago and made some stops along the way, which was really fun. But so Saturday to Saturday was our journey, and it was phenomenal. It was great to see the trees change color as we were moving through. But then getting to WEFTech and just having our team there, ready to go, helping set up, for me, this is a big change because I have people actually going and talking to the customers. And
it was hard for her, if anyone is wondering. She let go of those things with a tight grip, but was excited to see people thrive, I think is what you're trying to get at.
Yes. And because I love seeing the clients, and, I care about all of you and I want to be a part of it. But then I also know that we've just grown so much that the team has to be involved. So Vince and Becca did a great job of taking care of our customers there. And Bethany coming around with her, camera. And I don't know, Bethany, do you feel like you photographed everything? You were just so many different dimensions there at WEFTech, from the Ops Challenge to a random person. And I'm like, hey, Bethany, will you please take a picture of this person?
It's my favorite. Yeah, because I don't even have to think. I'm just like, okay, we're going to take some good pictures. And then Charlie's just like, come with me. And so I always get to meet all of the cool people, for one, because Charlie needs a picture with them. And then get to take pictures of some awesome things. Like there was a really cool new pump that KSB had in their booth, one of our partners, that I got to take some pictures of. And the Ops Challenge is always awesome. So I love it.
And by the way, we took a picture of the winner of the Ops Challenge. So
I need to edit those
before they were the winners. We just are big fans of Controlled Chaos is who it was. And then awesome. At the same time, we were preparing for the Empowering Women Conference, and our team there, Cindy Smith, thank you so much for being there and just really putting everything together, helping us all put together. It was so great to have her kind of leading that. And then Amber, who wasn't at WEFTech, but she was behind the scenes doing the work. We thought it was strategy wise to have her, stay in her workstation. And so that was such a pleasure to be able to stay in the moment, send her some pictures, and she knows our clients enough to be able to come up with the message. And that was really, really awesome. So thank you, Amber. And I hope I've thanked everybody. I feel like, there were so many people helping out, our steering committee, our volunteers. It was just a remarkable team effort. And that's really what I took away from the week is I have an amazing team, and I got to enjoy being there. Yes, working hard, but also knowing my team had it. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Just to extend this section even longer today, just buckle up, people. You're fine. One one of the predominant feelings I had at WEFTech was how great it was and the excitement of being at a trade show again. Trade shows are kind of my world that I came from when I started at Empowering Pumps, and just feeling the energy in the place. People, I thought, were really more focused on quality rather than quantity, which I think is a nice shift for trade shows.
You didn't feel like you had to run to see as many people as you could. You just, okay, this is who I'm going to spend time with in this moment. Yeah.
Yes. And, I personally felt safe being there and some of the safety protocols they had in place. And I think it bodes well for the trade shows that are coming up the rest of this year and beginning of next year for our industry. And I hope that, it continues to be a positive experience for everyone. And then Empowering Women was just awesome. Like, I love it every year. My favorite thing was really getting to see some of these people in person that I've been looking at through my little square on my computer for 18 months now. Let's see, Karen Laus, a lot shorter in person than that's always a fun thing, is seeing how tall people are, right?
Oh my gosh, so many people shocked me with that. And I felt so bad when I was like, I thought you were taller. I'm like, don't take that the wrong way, because a guy, not Karen, but I was just like, don't take it the wrong way. But it's just totally threw us off, right?
But so, moral of the story, if you haven't been to one of these events, practice tactful ways to say that to someone, because I did not master that at all.
I did not either.
But I was so excited to see all of these people that I had been seeing on my screen, like Yolanda, our steering committee member, Barbara Sweeney, Karen Laus, all these amazing speakers that we had at our event, and then getting to dance. I love a dance party, and it's just not the same when you're at home alone. So having the dance party there at Empowering Women was really fun.
And I had to make her stop being a photographer to come dance with us, because she's like, I got to get a picture of those shoes. I'm like, I already did that. Just don't even go back to get your camera. I got it. But it that's why you do a great job. You're passionate about it. You see all the details that I don't see. And it was fun. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Also fun.
Yes,
exactly. I'm still living on a high. We're recording this on Friday. We're about to show the award winners and the fashion show models what they looked like when they gave because in the moment, when first the fashion models, they were doing it so they couldn't see. But the award winner, you probably forget everything that you say too, because it's such a wow moment. Okay.
So you can go back and watch those videos. They're on our YouTube channel. They're also on our Facebook in the Facebook videos. You can just scroll back through our page. You can find them. Go watch those videos. It's really fun, especially I think if you have young kids at home that might want to see what women in our industry look like when they go to work. Awesome.
Carly loved it. I already showed her.
Yeah.
So she got a sneak peek.
That's awesome.
Okay. One other exciting thing I want to tell y'all, November the 22nd is our 100th episode. Okay, just stop. Take it in, Bethany. Take it in. We've done this 100 times. So y'all please join us for that. Mention us and, celebrate with us, because you're a part of it. And we're just so happy that you are here and listening and bringing us back every week, because we like to do it.
Yes. So I know the numbers might be confusing to some people. This is episode 79, but we've released several bonus episodes throughout the year and a half that we've been doing this. And so we've done the math. Just trust us. We're coming up on 100 episodes. We are selling some sponsor spots for that episode. Call Vince. He'd love to talk to you about it. And so we can have you celebrate with us on the show as well.
Let's get social.
Let's do it. This is where we're going to fill you in on something you need to know or something you should be doing on social media. But first, Charlie, why don't you invite everybody to our meetups?
Yes. Well, first I have to say that the meetup that I missed was amazing. Y'all did a great job. Amy did a wonderful job. And so y'all just put it on your calendar right now to join us, because these are amazing. So Empowering Women's next meetup is Wednesday, November the 10th, 11 a.m. Central Time. The Empowering Brands meetup is going to be November the 16th, every third Tuesday. How long are we going to do this is the question.
You're
Y'all got to
the
tell me,
boss
what do we
lady.
want to, what do we want to do for 2022? But that's going to be at 3 p.m. Central Time. It's empowering brands, empowering pumps. There's a great mix of people on that call. So join us.
Yep. Sign up, pre-register. You'll get emailed the link to the Zoom invite, and be there. Be ready to turn your camera on and introduce yourself. And as we head into this holiday season.
Yeah. And on that note, please give us a shout out by mentioning us at Empowering Pumps or Empowering Industry Podcast. I don't know why I couldn't say Empowering Pumps just then, but that'll be a fun giggle for later.
You know what? Maybe it's going to take 101 episodes of practice, Charlie, before you can get it out. It's fine.
It's fine. Yes. Okay. I did give Cindy the shout out earlier, but I want to just let everybody know she has her own business. It's called Social House, and she is just creative and can really see the details, and she's a master at getting things out on time. So really excited about that and working with her. I love working with entrepreneurs.
And my favorite thing about having her at the event was someone would ask me a question. I'd be like, go ask Cindy. Go ask Cindy. She'll know. And she always did. And she always made us look good. So I'm very appreciative to everything she did for our event.
I can't tell you how many times I said, that's a Cindy question.
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. So thank you so much. Also, we've got some new subscribers to our YouTube channel, which I love. Rob Kalwarowski, I didn't know you weren't already subscribed, but thank you very much. So he's a wonderful leader. I'm excited to get to work with him. Ready to talk to him about the Leadership Launchpad and all that's coming up next with that. And then Michelle S. Thomas, who actually did fly from Atlanta to Chicago and joined us. I didn't get to spend enough time with her, but she is planning a conference in Atlanta for women as well. And that's in March. And I'm really excited about just getting to know her and her audience over there in Atlanta too. So just fun group. We're just continuing to grow and connect people, which is always fun to see.
So at the top of the episode, you got to do your thank yous to all of the team for helping out during the week. And so I decided to save mine for a shout out. So I wanted to give a shout out to Heather, who's working behind the scenes for us. And she was really active on Whova for us during Empowering Women, just answering questions, sending out emails when we needed them, was just there to handle anything that we needed. And then Mallory as well, who just joined our team doing marketing stuff. It was so amazing during the event to be like, I need this graphic, or can you do this? And half of them, she's like, I already did that for you because I read your mind. And always wonderful to have those people. So
yes.
Thank you to both of you for helping to keep things running. And then Amber, as always, can just like run everything behind the scenes and did so much for getting all of our stuff out. And I just love Amber.
Yeah. I mean, and it really is that group of people that you can lean on when you're busy at an event is amazing, you know. And Heather didn't wait for us to ask, like, hey, we need your help with this. She's like, I'm here. What do y'all need? And I'm like, oh, thank God. We have another helper. This is wonderful. So thank you all.
And yes. And one more, at Empowering Women, Becca and I gave a session. And so it was about carrying the mental load. Yes. I was like, what is it called again? No, I'm just kidding. Mental load and how to redistribute it. And it was really awesome to get to work with Becca for one, but then to also get to present with her after, practicing and rehearsing and doing these videos. And there is a video of that. So if you were signed up for the virtual, you can watch that video through Whova. So thanks, Becca.
I love it. I was so proud of them. And I didn't ask them to do it. That was on their own. They decided, okay, we're going to be a speaker. It was wonderful. I had to pop in and take y'all's picture because I was just so proud. So anyway, good job. Okay. I heard it was wonderful. And I guess we should teach them something. You think?
Yes. Okay. So this week, we are doing a throwback topic that we did last November for you, but I think time for a refresher. We're going to start November off on a good foot by talking about the hashtag 100 Happy Days social media challenge or hashtag that you follow along with. But we're going to talk about ways you can celebrate via social media using this hashtag and ways that it can just help you throughout your day.
Yeah. So I'll tell you what it is. It's an
Yeah.
experiment where you challenge yourself. You take a picture of something that makes you happy for 100 straight days, and you post these pictures to your Facebook, your Instagram, and you use the hashtag 100 happy days. Now, for me, it's this. Yes, it's a challenge for yourself, but it's also a way to showcase what you care about. And I think that that's also a really good idea. So that's what it is.
A little back history on where it started. In 2013, a man named Dimitri G. I don't know how to say his last name. He was born in the Ukraine. He now lives in Switzerland. He was kind of in this slump. And I think we can probably all relate to that at one point or another in our lives. Right now, there's days where I'm like, we're 18 months into this pandemic and it feels like there's no end and you're just on the grind. And so he was in this slump, but he just realized, and his friends kept telling him, hey, you've really got a pretty good life. Like, you have lots of things to appreciate. And so he started doing this challenge where he was like, okay, I'm going to share something every day for 100 days of something that makes me happy, to kind of reframe things in his mind and start appreciating all of the things that were around him. And it just kind of took off from there in 2013. Then just more people started doing it. And at some point, it trickled down to the one and only Charlie Matthews, who now it's like a yearly staple for her, I think.
Yeah. Well, I laughed earlier and said, I do this every year because like I need to remind myself how awesome my life is. But it really is also pointing out the little things, the things that you take for granted. And, so before I get into that, I am going to tell you about the benefits of doing it. You're learning about yourself. You're learning to shape your thinking, like she said, of what makes you happy. And so you're going to surprise yourself. If you really do this, you're going to find something, a theme, something that you're like, I didn't realize that I cared about that. For me, it was flowers. Like, I'm like, I love taking pictures of these flowers, like really up close. Yeah. And I'm like, okay. And so, yeah, exactly. We had fresh flowers at our
We did. They were beautiful.
And I didn't get an up close picture. Maybe you did. So anyway, there is an article that we found. There's 16 different things that they learned, but I'll give you a couple. One is that happiness is a choice. Happiness is about appreciation and being grateful for anything. Okay. It could be anything. It could be taking a deep breath. I'm really thankful for that these days, that I can take a deep breath. It can be a huge event. It could be something small. It could be a phrase that you saw, an inspirational quote. It's about finding what inspires you, who makes you happy. For me, there's a lot of pictures of my children most of the time. I still love you. I still am grateful for you, even though I have to do all these things for you. But they make me happy.
Sometimes you have to remind yourself of that. I'm in that stage. It's fine.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just a challenge sometimes. They're just, wanting you to make a sandwich and you're like, done making sandwiches. Okay. But that little grin, you may capture that. It's hard to be ready for all of these moments. And so sometimes if I miss a moment and I still want to capture it, I'll take a picture of something else. And in my description, I'll say what really that moment was about. But it just reminds me, and I actually do it several times a year, maybe not using the 100 happy days, but when you're not in the picture and you're just looking out, it's a different view. And I think it's really important to do.
It's deep. And it doesn't have to be on social media. Charlie and I, we know this is a social media section. Her and I are social media enthusiasts. But maybe you're not about posting something to your Facebook every single day. And that's okay. It could be putting something in an album that you share with your family.
Yeah.
Yes, journaling it. However you feel. I think I'm a little scared to say this on the podcast because then it's true. But I'm going to commit to doing it this year. And Facebook feels a little scary for me to make a post every day. So I'm going to put it in my Instagram stories. So follow along on my personal Instagram. It's Bethany B. Womack. I'll tag it in our Instagram post, but follow along in my stories, and you can see something that I'm happy for every day. And just as an example of how little it can be, my happy for today had I started. We're going to wait until November 1st to start. My 4-year-old decides he likes to pick up bugs for me. So there's a dead bug on the floor, and he picks it up. I would have thought I was going to have to wait a lot longer for these benefits of having boys, but here I am, no longer in charge of cleaning up bugs in my house. So
I love it. It makes you happy. Mm-hmm. I love it. So great.
Yes. Okay. So takeaway: happiness and gratefulness, their choice. We talk a lot about mental health and being in a good mental health place. And I think this challenge definitely will help me be in a positive place. I know that Charlie's had positive outcomes from it. And, there's a lot of power in the words that we use and the things that we're speaking to ourselves, as well as sharing with others. And so as we head into this holiday season, I know sometimes the holidays are hard for people. Sometimes it's not something you look forward to every year. And so my hope is that maybe you decide, well, this year I'm going to make a positive choice to say some positive things to myself and to those around me. So
I love it. And, I love the power of a hashtag. And so if you are unsure, like what would you post, you can just click on that hashtag, search it, 100 Happy Days, and see what, has been posted out there. Remind yourself what happiness looks like, right? Some of the times we can't see it because we're in the gloom and doom of what's happening. And so look around and just see that it's the simplest things out there that can make you happy. A cool glass of water, it could be anything. So anyway, I look forward to seeing that. Definitely, I love following Bethany's stories anyway, but I look forward to doing this in a I thought it was cool that you
official
committed.
Capacity. Yes.
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay, so now we're going to move into the news.
I didn't dance that time. What was I thinking?
No, I may change up our sound effects. You know what? 100 episodes have come. It might be time for an update on our sound effects. Y'all let me know in the comments. But so the news section is where we're going to preview some news that you can see coming to your inbox twice a week this week on the Empowering Pumps and Equipment newsletter. We always start with the person of the week. Who do we have this week, Charlie?
Yes. This week's industry person of the week is Edward P. Butts. He is the registered civil, electrical, environmental, and control systems engineer. He is an owner. He's also a water and wastewater design manager for 4B Engineering and Consulting LLC, which he started this with his daughter in 2004. So I would love to hear more about that story. But he seems like a pretty cool guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. One of the questions that I pulled, because I just blew my mind, I will share with you, was the thing he was most proud about his job, or what he loves the most about his job and what he's proud of, is that he said, next to his family, I'm most proud of the over 250 water systems I have designed or built during my career. Now, you talk about some kind of like generational impact and impact on society at large and those people around you. That's huge when you think about how many lives he's literally touched with the work that he's done. I just think is so cool.
I've got all the chills and feels.
Ditto! Oh my gosh.
It's wonderful. Wonderful. So check out his feature on Empowering Pumps. We'll link to it, of course. And then please nominate someone. I mean, we love hearing these stories. It motivates us and just it's fascinating to hear. And, it's easy to do as well. So just send us their name and nominate them and tell us something cool about him. Okay.
And Edward, if you're listening, nominate your daughter that you started this company with. We would love to hear her story as well.
Absolutely. I love that. Okay. My news story is from Check All. What you need to know about check valves and cracking pressure. I have a lot of things about this with my heart valve that I could go into, but I'm not going to do that for y'all today. But what is this cracking pressure? Cracking pressure is the difference in pressure between the valve's inlet and outlet ports. It's the pressure differential required to crack open the valve, the point at which there is a sudden rise in flow. If a cracking pressure is too high, the valve will not fully open. If it is operating partially, open the valve check mechanism may rattle and shatter or chatter. I don't remember.
Basically, if it's making noise, that's bad, people. We know this on so many things and so many of the news stories that we share with you. It's just a simple thing that I think is really, I find it funny. If it's loud, it's bad.
It's right. Noisy pump. There's also a noisy valve, guys.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's amazing. I think I could really talk to valve companies a lot now, but I think it's working with a manufacturer that can tailor these check valves to your application can make a difference. You want the right valve. Coming from me, I know that. This article goes on in detail about the spring-loaded check valves versus the swing check valves and how, which one you need for different applications. So I think it's really important. And thank you, Check All Valve. I should just call them. It'll be a really great phone call.
Yeah, record
this,
it
right?
so we can have it. Okay, so the story that I'm previewing for you today comes from our partners at Grumpus, and it's titled Advantages of Permanent Magnet Motors for Submersible Groundwater Pumps. It's a white paper, and it's all about comparing and contrasting permanent magnet motors, so PMMs, with those of conventional induction design. So I love this. It's very well written, very thorough, and makes a whole lot of sense when you read through it. And I felt like I learned a lot. So just at the top, I want to plug that this is a very good one that everyone should go to read. But so just as kind of background, how electric motors function, we know that all motors work by virtue of rotating a magnetic field, causing the rotor to spin. Rotor dynamics, look at us. But the difference between an induction motor and PMMs is how the magnetic field of the rotor is created. In PMMs, the magnetic field of the rotor is created actually during manufacturing process by putting high-strength permanent magnets that are already built into the rotor. So there's no need for any kind of magnetic field to be used for inducing the rotor to spin. So benefits of having the PMMs is significant reduction in energy consumption, which is environmentally responsible. We're very pro that around here, which also leads to lower costs to the owners, which in the article it talks about, if you're talking about a house, it might not be that much. But when you're talking about a water distribution center or somewhere that is very large and has a lot of these pumps, it can actually save you a lot of money. They're smaller and lighter. The small dimension means increased power density. It's faster, easier to install and keep maintained, and even more. So basically, in conclusion, everyone can benefit from submersible groundwater pumps with permanent magnet motors. Drillers, contractors, installers, system owners, and even the environment.
So, I love it. I love it.
Check it out.
Yes.
Okay. Great news story. Let us know in the comments. Tag Grumpus and tell them that you learned a lot. Tag Check All Valves and tell them that you really liked their story as well. And now we get to move to one of our favorite segments of the show, the industry interview.
I really don't know how you gave this to me, Bethany, to open, but
I was too excited. I couldn't do it. I said, Charlie has to do it.
He's too great. So this interview is with Andy Martin. So love him or hate him, he is a fixture in our, rotating equipment industry. I mean, I remember it was over a decade ago that we worked with him, but he's worked exclusively with centrifugal pumps and process equipment in the industry for companies like Lord Corporation, John Crane, Eagle Bergman, Pump Works. I remember him, giving me the diamond from Eagle Bergman that they had as a marketing promo. And, he just stays with you. Okay. He does something phenomenal. He just kind of stays with you. But today, we talked to him about marketing and what that looks like moving forward. It's a really great interview. We also talk about family, and I have to say that Andy and his wife, they reside in Sydney, Australia, one of my favorite places, and I absolutely could not, let him go without talking about that. So, of course, he sends me a picture of himself in my very favorite place in Sydney. But it's a really great interview. He is a graduate from Syracuse University with a Master's of Arts in Advertising Design. more than likely, if you want to, reach him, he will be on LinkedIn. So go ahead and search Andy Martin. Tell him, whether you love or hate him, we love him, and we think that he is an amazing marketer and really understands the pump industry as a whole. And so he's also very open to just talking to people and learning, and I guess giving us his knowledge. So reach out to him. I think you'll really enjoy the interview.
100%. I agree. He's one of those people that you have to have him in your network, because once he's like decides that, that you're in his network, he sends me people that I need to connect with on LinkedIn. He's my biggest cheerleader for things. When I was leaving my job at Texas A&M and deciding where else I was going to fit in the industry, he had to have spent 10 to 15 hours like showing me how to redo my resume and connecting me with people and giving me an advertising book to put my portfolio together and all of these things that, like, what did I do for him? I didn't know at that moment, but I just knew that at some point, some way, I would find a way to repay him and thank him for everything he's done. And aside from being a cheerleader for people, I think he's really a huge cheerleader for the industry, because he 100% understands that good marketing and good storytelling is what makes our industry thrive and what makes companies in our industry thrive. And so he's one of the first people that I really wanted to be on the podcast way back when we started. I'm really glad that you pinned him down to get him on an interview. And I'm so excited to share his knowledge with all of our listeners.
And I just say one more thing. He's just a good person. I remember being pregnant, going, to Texas and thinking, okay, I got to put up this booth. And I arrive and it's already set up. And I think that is just, just genuinely kind, an act of kindness, right? That you weren't expecting, and it just makes a difference in people's lives. So I think he does that on a regular basis. And just had to mention that.
And I think tagging him on social media is payback enough for him, because he thrives there and he loves to connect with people. And so without further delay, here's your interview.
Welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast, Andy. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here. Congratulations on 10 years. I mean, it's been
amazing.
A blink of an eye, hasn't it?
Yes. And, thanks for being part of that ride. It's been fun. I feel like I learned from you at the start.
Ditto.
And we'll tell people about this. So we've known each other. For me, it's probably been 20 years. We'll hold on to that as far as the final date. I don't really know.
Child labor.
Right. But let's jump into it. Okay, Andy, tell them your story. Who are you? What do you do?
Marketing communications. I've been here 30 years now. It's just a blink of an eye. I can't believe how fast it goes. But working for major seal manufacturers, I think I've worked for just about every one of them in Houston and Chicago. Marketing communication guy, B2B bred, cut my teeth. It's always been B2B. I've always worked with chemical engineers or mechanical engineers. I don't know why I'm drawn to that. It's a visual performing arts degree from Syracuse University. I don't know what that
because they need us, Andy. That's why.
The creatives.
Yes, we've got to have the creatives. And this is, part of the reason why I want to talk to you is because we are that marketer in a very technical space, which is just difficult for one. And, you've been through that. You've seen the industry change. But how did you get into it? What was your first introduction to this that made you, we can even talk about marketing and media. How did you get into what you do today?
I always found it interesting that I came from a radio TV background. I was a photographer, a news photographer. And then one day out of the blue, somebody called and said, hey, can you make us a video as a chemical manufacturing company? I'm like, sure, knock that out real quick. So that led into a job with a chemical manufacturer. And it was interesting to know the process. And there's a whole process. Everybody thinks that it's an end product on a shelf that you just pick up, but there's a whole phalanx of things that predicated all that manufacturing stuff. And I found that interesting. I mean, from all the way to the batch mixing and the monomers that you have to make in a vat to make this, do that for this particular company in this particular application. And that was just fascinating to me that there was all that process beforehand, and to tell a story that was interesting to a customer. And it's all about storytelling, right? Whether we, hit all the high points of what the engineer thinks that they should be and what the customer should be, and then the two shall never meet. But if you get somebody like you and me in that involved, you can start weaving that web of a story together that makes it palatable for the engineer, but more palatable for the person buying the product in the end.
And there's been like some research in that too about storytelling and how that helps your brain like retain the knowledge of what's going on. So anytime you tell a story, something happens to where you can remember it better. And so I think that's amazing that we can, use storytelling to make a bigger impact. But not only just in, the funness of reading the story, but also retaining the knowledge.
Yep. It's about understanding, right? There's this whole thing. It's not just the end product. It's the understanding of how the product's made and used and that kind of stuff. And that's how basically I got involved with it. And then it just moved all the way up and went from chemical engineering to mechanical engineering to manufacturers, mechanical sealing devices to pumps. And it's quite an interesting. Everybody just thinks it's commoditized. You go to the turbo machinery show and it's just the end product on the floor, and it's really not that. It's about the education these guys are getting about tribology in the classes, but then you get down on the show floor and it's all the hardware and stuff that you get to see there as well. So it's a really dynamic industry. Everybody thinks it's boring because it's not business to consumer. It's business to business, other businesses selling to other businesses. And that's what I find interesting about it. And that's why I've been doing it forever.
Yeah. Well, I think you're good at it too. So I think there's part of that understanding a process, which you really have to do as a marketer in this space. You have to listen to, your customer, find out all you can about what makes that product help, solve a problem, what is their pain points, et cetera, and that you're helping with. And that takes time. It takes, investment into an industry. And so I did meet you at probably TPS. That is probably the one. And so, so long being in that industry and kind of knowing that it's, you see you at TPS and you don't know your background in marketing or digital media, but I do now, right? Like I know, and I want to pick your brain a little bit about how marketing has changed, because like we said, we've been in this a couple of decades or so, and it has changed. I started my company when, very small amount of people were in social media, but I'm just curious how you think marketing has changed since you've been here.
The principles of marketing are the same, right? Price, product, promotion, placement, those don't change. I think the thing that changed it was the internet. It made everything faster. The fast got faster. Everybody wanted information now, and the internet has done that. Google's done that. Search engine algorithms have done that, and everybody wants it. This idea of instantaneous information all at once. But there's lead times. If you're in manufacturing, there's a whole bunch of lead times that have to occur, and the supply chain all impact what you make. So I think the end user are more savvy. They understand because they've gone to the Empowering Pumps website and know what it takes about produced water, and they have all that information. So you've armed that consumer with enough information to make a logical decision about you and your product, to make the ball rolling to get the sale done. So the promise is that now that they've got the produced water pump ready to go and they've got all the information they need, is getting that product to them, right? So that's why the manufacturing process, it's really caused the manufacturers to dial up their process efficiencies in their manufacturing processes, so that now all these people have all that information. Now they want the stuff, right? So that means that the manufacturer has to have their collective stuff together to make sure that raw material comes in one door, it moves through the most efficient way possible through the manufacturing facility, and then out the door onto the truck and into the customer's facility. And I
which
think
has become, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, which I think is like really difficult with the pandemic, is the shifts in the supply chain. And I'm sure that it's just recreating this with what we have now. What have you seen in that regard?
Yeah, that's the really interesting, good point, that the people that had the risk management and had their supply chain and had under control, those people are doing well. The people that relied on others without some sort of process in place are struggling. The larger companies, or the companies that had that stuff in place, like their vertically integrated supply chain that they had command over, rather than, well, we think, right,
Yes.
we'll get our raw material on time, versus knowing that they'll get their raw material on time. I think that if there's anything good to come out of a pandemic, that has really honed the skills of those reliability, supply chain. And I'll tell you what, the HSE, the Health, Safety, and Environmental Office, they call them something else here. That's SHE. There's Safety, Health, and Environment here, and in the U.S. they're HS.
And I think we forgot to tell people where you are. So he is in Sydney, Australia, just my favorite spot on the planet, and like sitting there in Sydney. So thanks for joining us from there. But
I'm only 15 hours ahead. It's Saturday morning at 7:30 a.m.
Oh my gosh, how
Friday
do we plan
afternoon
that?
for you. Hey, are you
I took your
drinking? Is it
Saturday morning.
happy hour there in Alabama?
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, well, I do see the coffee now. Well, so there are some differences. So you're in Australia, and it does look different. You are kind of on this island, if you will.
Yes.
And it's, I think, even more essential that you have your supply chain there, and you're not trying to get things outside of Australia necessarily, but you do,
Yeah.
so how do you
Logistics.
manage that?
Yeah, logistics is a big part of that. That controlling your supply chain, knowing the process efficiencies you have in your manufacturing processes, but logistics, getting the stuff out the door and to where it needs to go. So those are like all the key factors, not all of them, but those key factors that are making companies that are still in business effective today, that they've got that control over it. And flights are still landing here. It just they're not commercial flights; they're business.
Yeah. So we are talking a lot about business and kind of the process to get something created and out to the customer, and that's what I want people to know about marketing too, that it is part of the business. It is part of understanding the process and being in the know, so that you can get out the story, so that you can get out the tools in order to allow salespeople to, get the products sold and then created, or vice versa, created then sold, however that process is for y'all. But I'm always curious if marketing is essential in the pump industry. And
absolutely,
yeah,
I mean, if you really want to know how to marketing is get in the hip pocket of a salesman, the manufacturing engineer, the mechanical engineer, and like you said earlier, getting to know their pain points. What hurdles are they trying to clear? Because it's different from the mechanical engineer to the salesman, right? And somewhere in there in that Venn diagram, there's going to be overlay, and that's where the marketing happens, right? So, oh, okay, so they're looking for MPSHR or A that has this kind of thing. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what the salesman said over here, and that's what the mechanical engineering guy. So I can use it in a whatever type of application where I'm using this specific gravity of this type of fluid. Bang, and then that's where you can start saying, okay, where the marketing happens, where you can make value judgments. That white paper, absolutely, or a brochure or a tweet about solving problems with produced water that have heavy mineral content of whatever. Right. Those
it's amazing.
Yeah, but and everybody thinks it's this functional silo. It's just marketing, right? They just produce a brochure and they go to a trade show. It's not that. I mean, it's a living, breathing organism that you have to it evolves every day. And I think we've learned this during the pandemic that, it's just not a functional silo anymore. It needs to have some applicability to the end user, but also has some meaning for the internal people as well, that they're proud of the product they produce and they get it out on time to the customer.
Well, even just to communicate with each other, there is an element of marketing. So during the pandemic, we had these regular meetups, and you had to produce the date that you were going to have that, the image, what's going to get people to join this meetup. And same thing goes with just having a conversation with your client. And so I think that that's part of it. It's really all those pieces, like you said. And I think if we narrow it down, I love the storytelling aspects, and we both know that we needed more storytelling within the pump industry. And I mean, you're one of those players. So if I look back at when I met you, and kind of you were innovative marketer that a steel manufacturer captured, right? And got to use your resources. And I remember us trying to change the way that people thought about the pump industry. Like, this is what we want to do. We want to attract people to this industry. This is not creating a brochure kind of talk, right? This is talking about what your stories out there can do for our industry. It can make it important, and it is important to our daily lives all the time. And so, how can we become better marketers? I'll pose that to you. How can we do better?
I think there's a lot to be said. People commoditize the thing. They think the pump industry is just like a light bulb. You go to a store, you go pick up the light bulb, you pull it off the shelf, you buy it, you put it in, and that thoughtlessness of, there's nothing behind it. It's just a light bulb. You go plug it in. But if you work that backwards, it's like, no, your faucet doesn't turn on. The electricity doesn't come. Yeah, right. Will you have clean water to drink? Those kind of things, if you work that back, that's all about the pump manufacturer, the metallurgist, the tribologist, the mechanical engineer, the person supplying the metallurgy for your casting of the pump, or the type of sealing materials that you're using inside the seal that makes the pump run better or more efficient. Those are the kind of things, and that's that conscious raising kind of awareness things that I think that you and the Turbo Machinery Laboratories have done to elevate the status of, oh, he's just a pump engineer. Yeah, he's a pump engineer, but he's got a degree from Texas A&M University or University of Alabama or wherever they're from. That's no small feat. A BS in mechanical engineering is a pretty damn big deal, if you ask me.
And I'll have to say that Bethany will be so proud that we've included both the Aggies and the Crimson Tide. Well done there.
Aggies. Roll Tide.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so, but what you're, talking about is the people, and it's so important. It starts with these people and what their jobs are. And when I start talking to that, and I'm talking to a marketer, so let's say a new marketer coming in, I've been here and understand that. And sometimes I think the last time you saw me, I probably got emotional about this. It's, they don't know how much influence they have, how important their job is to get out the right information, to influence the industry. And they have the ability to do it. They have the platform. They just don't know the importance of it. So that's one of the things that I want to share, right? That importance of the marketer right when they get there.
Well, the kids that come out of school today, the marketing kids that come out of school today, are pretty damn savvy. I mean, really damn savvy. And I wish I was armed with that, because we had to learn it, right? It was all new when we were 97 and all that kind of stuff, and it was all coming out, and everyone, what's this internet thing, right? So we were learning by the tip end of the sword, versus these guys already have that knowledge. So they're armed and a lot smarter, but they do lack that immersive thing within the company, right? So learning the company culture, learning how the product is made and works, and what are the triggers for the customer. So that
takes time too, right?
Yeah, it is. It isn't like and that's where the getting on the show floor at Turbo Machinery makes a lot of sense. You can go upstairs and get all the classes you want, but if you get down on the show floor, that's where the rubber's meeting the road, right?
Yeah, those real conversations. I think about it all the time of like why trade shows, because we're really getting into that right now too. When it's, we're opened back up in some places, not you, but we're opened back up in some places. And, do we have a show? Do we not?
Yeah.
And, we've all swapped over to this digital world of events. Why meet in person? I still believe strongly that there's so much that you gain out of having those casual conversations on the show floor that is just irreplaceable. I mean, and I've tried to replace it, right? For over a year now. And that is what I miss more than anything, probably.
We're social animals. We're social creatures, right? That we need the interaction. We need to have the eye contact. And eye contact we're having right now is good, and our face isn't covered with masks and that kind of stuff. But we're social creatures. We like to hear our name in a conversation. We like to see our old friends or enemies at the trade show that, you can have some sort of dialogue. And I think it's that face-to-face dialogue that's impacting what we're doing now. It's now been reduced to these electronic kind of communications versus understanding, seeing the person's body language, looking at the micro expressions of somebody's eyes, the twinkle in my eye when I see you. It's that
so
kind
sweet.
of stuff, right?
That's right. It's true. It's really true. It's the energy with people together. I mean, one of the things I didn't want to go to is the airport and see it like dead, right? Where nobody was traveling, because that is going to be a negative energy for me. I want to go to an event and see the people interacting. So even with masks and you go out and you don't really see those smiling faces, it doesn't have the same effect for me, but I'd take that over not having an event.
Right.
Yeah. Well, okay. So enough about me. I just talk, but
I agree.
Right. What would you say about what are you passionate about? I mean, we could go all over the place. So what is that passion?
I think we touched on it a little bit earlier. I think the understanding of the process, because, I'm not mechanically inclined. I could never, I couldn't explain affinity laws to you, but I know a whole bunch of people that can explain affinity laws to you and the difference between NPSHR and A. And they're passionate. Yeah, right. And required, right? So you got it. But there's people that are passionate about that, and God bless them.
Yes, and we're so thankful for you because I'll get it mixed up, right? Like the details of that is so essential.
But I think that whole thing about going to a show and seeing how people are presenting themselves and how they're presenting their product, right? So at a trade show, you get to see what they're about, their culture's about, how they're taking themselves forward and presenting themselves to the world in the pump industry or that kind of stuff. I think that's why people get into marketing, maybe for money. I don't know, maybe not, but I think it's just an interesting foray into an area that people take for granted every day, right?
Yeah, that's so good. And I mean, I think that there's an element of things that make it look good, that our marketers and graphic designers are so great at this. And you see something that's like high quality and you're like, yes, this is amazing. I like this. And then the other side of that is being curious and interested in the industry that we're in. Okay. Well, I've talked a lot. You talked a lot. I love, anytime that we can get together inspires me. But just leaving our listeners with something. Is there anything else that you want to share?
Teddy Roosevelt quote that people don't know how much you care until you care about them. In a lot like our interaction, right? We've always, I know what you do. You're great, and it's marketing background is super duper. But you cared. Remember when you made? I brought those bags in. I didn't know which one to buy at Turbo Machinery for Jennifer, and you picked that out for me. It was awesome, right? Rebecca does the same thing. I had a pocket square in it. It was wrong. She came in and fixed it for me. I mean, didn't have to ask. Bethany, with all her background in marketing and photography. I mean, just you guys go the extra mile, and that's what people will remember, right? So
I think it is that, you have to care about people in our industry. It's easy to do. It's easy to care about you, even 15 hours ahead, when we don't get to see each other very often. But that's part of that community, and that we have shared and learned. And the community of the
Good
pump and
point.
it's
And
really
it's all about the community, right? The people you surround yourself with. And if you surround yourself with good people, it's easy at that point, right?
It is. And that's what I think great advice for everybody listening is to find that community. If you're new to our industry, then, make sure that you, of course, reach out to us because we've got all the knowledge of this history here. But also we know people just, you mentioned that kind of knowing people that can find the answer to these really technical questions too. That's part of our job as a marketer, is to know where to look, where to find the answers to these.
And they should subscribe to the thing right down here. Where
I don't know where it is. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe in one of these two areas, stage left or stage right.
So talking about like 10 years ago, or so it's 16 now. My son is 16, but he used to do these Beyblade wars, and stadium out is one of his finest quotes. But at the end of it, he goes, "Now like and subscribe." And so this is like so long ago. I guess it was 10 years. He was about 5, and you're just like, how did he know to like and subscribe was so important? And it is. So y'all subscribe to our YouTube channel because we really, really need that to grow. Andy, Martin, what a pleasure to be able to spend some time with you. And
right back at you, big sister.
I think, Bethany will be so excited to see this, interview. Any shout out, any other shout out to Bethany?
Will you play me out with the Texas Aggies theme song? So just marching on.
Yes, we have to do this. Yes, that's what we have to do. Okay. I love it. Perfect. Well, if somebody wanted to get in touch with you, Andy, what is your preferred?
LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn. You'll find me on LinkedIn. Not much on Twitter anymore. In fact, I'm not on Twitter anymore.
Well, they're opening up new stuff on Twitter. You listen to our podcast, you'll hear all about it.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, and your idea of the YouTube channel and letting it play because they queue up one right after the other. What a great source of background music. And
y'all, he's telling on himself. He is listening to our podcast every week and learning stuff. Thank you.
Sign up and subscribe to that thing. It's worth it. I mean, watching the YouTube channel alone to see different stuff. Bradshaw's interview last week Simon was very good. So
he's gotten a lot of YouTube views on YouTube as well. So he shared his podcast. So we'll get this to you, Andy, to share so you can, engage. And I know everybody's going to want to see you because we miss you, it's been too much lockdown, and it'll be a great fresh, for the people that know you, this is as close, like this, you get a little bit of that feeling of being in person because we know you. So thanks a bunch, Andy.
Well, I miss you guys too, and hope we'll catch up again soon someday in Houston at the Turbo Machinery Laboratory.
Yes. I'll be there in December. We'll see if you are. If not, the next year we'll see.
I'll try. See ya.
Yes. Bye.
And we're back. Charlie, thank you so much for the interview. For those that want to also follow along with Andy's awesome travel adventures, he does post a lot of really cool pictures because he's really into photography. So I highly recommend following him and Jennifer on Instagram too.
I love it. I love it. Well, this brings us to the end of our show. Thanks for listening, everybody.
As always, do us a favor, subscribe to YouTube so that you can see all of our videos that we have coming out on our channels, including the podcast. But we also have Lunch and Learns with Vince and knowledge shares that we do with some of our organizations that we work with. Lots of good things, and leave us a rating and review so we know that you care.
Yeah, tell us what you want to see. What are we not sharing on YouTube? Maybe we'll create something for you.
Yeah.
You can always reach us on social at Empowering Pumps using the hashtag Empowering Industry Podcast. I'd love to search that one, by the way. Send us an email, podcast@empoweringpumps.com.
And we'll be back next Monday with a new episode.
Until then, be empowering.
song's just a little too long.
You're the producer. You could totally edit.
Next 100.
And my phone rings. Welcome, Angie. I'm so glad you're here. I mean, I don't even know how to start. You are way down under, and it's so great to have you and be able to see you on the podcast. For one, in person would be better, but virtually is all right.
Yep.
Let's start with you. If people don't know you, I'm surprised, but tell me a little bit. I know exactly. Okay. So I want to start over because Bethany will get a kick out of that. First of all, Bethany says, hello. She's so happy that you're doing this.
We love Bethany.